So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we've got a great guest. This guest can be seen in the awesome The Expanse that's rocking the globe right now. It's, of course, Vanessa Smythe. Vanessa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I normally, and it's sad to say this, I normally start my interviews with asking how the last 2 years has been for you and how you've been keeping positive, how you've been moving one step, in front of each other. And have you picked up any new skills during this lockdown?
Oh God. If overthinking is a skill, then I've really been mastering that one for sure. I mean, I felt quite fortunate because we were lucky enough to film a lot of season 6 during the beginning of last year. So when a lot of people were shuttered in their houses, I was very lucky to be getting tested 3 times a week. So I knew that I was healthy, and I was actually getting to collaborate with some of my favorite people who happened to be my co-stars in the show. So that certainly provided like a gift of a distraction and a focus, and something to kind of keep me in connection with other human beings. In the times when that wasn't the daily task, I feel like, what have I been doing? Yeah, like it's a combination of good decisions and bad ones, I'd say. Like, sometimes you allow yourself to binge all seasons of Succession, for instance. And then, sometimes you gather yourself up enough to go for a walk and maybe call like your grandmother that you haven't talked to for a while. And that can maybe drift you somewhere good. So I feel like I haven't cracked it. I'm trying to just be gentle with myself and with people that I talk to who are struggling in the different ways that we all are. Because, like, what can we do apart from kind of one moment at a time? Yeah.
And praise we've got shows like The Expanse to escape to a whole new world with. So no, that's really refreshing to hear. How you've been coping with it. I mean, how is it Toronto that you're in at the moment? How's everything Toronto? I mean, have they got lockdowns, restrictions?
Yeah, there's a bit of I feel like people are kind of a bit sunken right now. Today is the first day back at school for a lot of kids, and everyone's just been informed that we're going to be online kind of, at least for a few weeks, but probably a little bit longer than that. So my partner, he's also a writer and actor, and he was gearing up to debut his one-man show with a really exciting and wonderful theater company here in the city. And so a lot of us are kind of like entering the new year with this strange feeling of uncertainty. And I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of people I talk to, we're all a bit like heavy from it in a different way, because there's a bit of familiarity with what lockdown can feel like. So I feel like this time last year, or even at the beginning of 2020, I don't really know what year we're in, to be honest. I feel like there was kind of uncertainty, but there was a solidarity in discovering what that could mean together. And now my sense is that a lot of us are like dragging our heels in anticipation for what we know is awaiting us, in a sense. So I don't know. I'm going to try and I have 3 nephews that I love them more than anything in the whole world. So I'm going to try to get inventive with I don't know, maybe I can do some lame outdoor scavenger hunt for them or something, just to kind of offload some of the burden from their parents, who I know are going to be working and schooling them and trying to keep themselves somewhat sane. So yeah, it's a weird time.
And definitely having kids. I mean, I've got an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, two little girls, and I've got to say, throughout the pandemic, they've been quite resilient, and kids are, which is great. So
Yes.
I just hope it doesn't affect them, especially mental health wise, because kids,
Yes.
they are social butterflies, aren't they? They want to be around their friends, they want to be playing, and I'm glad to say schools have been back in the UK for quite a while now, and it was their first day back after the holidays yesterday, which was a chore to get them back up, ready,
Yeah.
and to school
Yeah.
in time, but we did it. But no, it's nice. And do you feel that this pandemic has really highlighted, the generosity and, the people that are really nice out there? I think, you see both sides of the coin. You see the people that, are being quite, not very nice about things, the restrictions and the lockdown and everything like that. But I'm seeing a lot of, kindness, which I think is really nice. I think it's a definitely reset button for humanity, and it's making us reassess lives and what we're going to do for the future, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah. I think that's so beautiful. Maybe I cry more easily these days, or maybe that's just who I am, but I felt pretty moved hearing you describe that. I mean, I know when I went and got my booster recently, the woman who was like giving me the vaccine, she was like, I just wanted to give her 1,000 kisses. Like I said to her, I was like, I just hope we all appreciate what you're doing so much. And she goes, oh, like, I'm so tired. And it really means a lot. So, I mean, even something very tiny, like some stranger who's overexcited to get their booster, telling this person, thank you. I mean, I don't think that can be underestimated. I think those little exchanges can mean a lot to all of us right now.
And in the UK during the pandemic, we did a thing. I don't know if you did it in Canada, where every day, well, on a certain day each week, we all went outside of our doors and we clapped for like a minute
Yeah.
or so for all the key workers. And I think the first couple of times we did it, I got choked up because
Yes.
I'm a key worker, and so is my
Oh,
wife. So we've been working throughout the whole pandemic, and we was hit at Christmas time. We both got COVID, so
oh, I'm sorry.
me for the second time. So I should
Oh,
be
man.
super immune by now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but who knows? But let's talk about your awesome career, because
Okay.
you are very, very busy. People think acting is a glamorous career, but it is very hard at times. You get the ups and the downs. So why acting? Why choose that route?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it's always, it's been the place that I continually get pulled back toward. I mean, when I was a little kid, I've always just loved stories and storytelling. And I remember when I was in grade 1, this woman came to our classroom and she told all of us a ghost story. And I remember just like from that moment forward, kind of feeling this visceral kind of magic and power. And I don't know, something about it just like magnetized me. And so I would start to do like horrible ghost stories of my own at like family Christmas parties. And I always had this like just this surge of desire to be a part of stories and tell them and make them up and dance around. And so I was lucky enough when I was younger, I went to a performing arts elementary school and a high school. So I was exposed to music and dance and theater and other weird people like me. So it was always kind of a big part of me. I mean, I didn't think though that it was really, I didn't know anybody that I was close to who was pursuing it professionally. So I never really thought it was an option. I did my undergrad in philosophy and got really passionate about a lot of the writers that I was studying and trying to understand. And I was really intent on doing my master's and kind of taking that path. But my final paper in my 4th year, I had a really amazing prof, and he really encouraged us to be as creative or as inventive as we felt we needed to be in the work. And my final paper became poems and like a script, basically. So I literally, the work I was doing was always bending me back toward the urge to tell and be part of stories. And that's kind of been a recurring theme in my life. After I graduated, I needed to pay off school loans. So I worked selling software at IBM, and I was like, in my mom's clothes because I didn't have any work clothes. And even there, a guy who was a couple desks over was an aspiring stand-up, and he actually brought me to my first professional acting class. So I was always kind of being funneled back into this. I don't know if it's cliche to be like primary calling or original love, but it feels like something I can't escape in a really beautiful way. Like even when I feel really lost, or if there's a time when life is uncertain, like it is now, or work is uncertain, I feel like I'm learning to maybe trust a little bit more on this kind of primary tug I have, and believe in wherever that's taking me. So.
I mean, how hard is it, for the viewers out there that may not have, looked into being an actor? How hard is it, the profession, to succeed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so many of us are seduced into what we think it's going to be like. I mean, I started pursuing acting professionally when I was in my early to mid 20s, and I felt and discovered humility over and over again, because you kind of think that if I'm proficient at something, if I can be good at something, and if I can demonstrate my ability, like I'll get to do the thing. Little do you know that there are so many variables and so many other people who are just as gifted vying for the same kind of parts and things. So, I mean, for me, it really required me to write a lot of my own work. So that kind of gave me an opportunity when I was waiting for the other opportunities to come. Like I would write my own shows and I would, find open mics and find other souls who just would not rest by like waiting for their opportunities to come. And then as a byproduct of that, I feel like more people began to see and be introduced to my work. And it did ultimately lead to opportunities where it wasn't just me writing my own stuff. So, but it's definitely a grind. And sense of humor is like, I don't know, the best tool I could have in my toolkit as I embark on it continuously. So
that's awesome. And what drives you? What really pushes you to, to succeed?
Oh, great. I mean, I think it can change. I mean, I know you have a performing arts background too, and I feel like a lot of us who share this passion, like if you believe it is inside you, you may have this urge to kind of let it live. So there is kind of that, like on a basic level, this feeling of whatever is inside you, you feel like it's your job to offer it. So I feel like that can be sometimes the motivation. Other times it's like when you watch something or you witness something and it inspires you so much, you almost feel like, I don't know, as a way to say thank you, you want to continue to strive yourself to tell a story with as much honesty and conviction and lack of fear that you can possibly manage. So like, I don't know, it almost feels like this cool conversation that you're lucky enough to be a part of. And then sometimes I'm just like, the world's all going to end someday. And why wouldn't I just fling myself at something that I love so hard,
I mean, do you ever get scared that obviously, you obviously are very good at what you do, but do you ever get scared that it may not work out? Or is it a case of you've got a backup plan? Because that was the thing that always scared me, was because I suffered with a stammer, really bad one. I had speech therapy for like 7 years, but I would always worry that would get in the way. I mean, do you get scared? I mean, does this job come with the pitfalls of undoubt?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the fear, for me at least, goes away. Something that I love, I'm part of an acting studio that I really believe in, and I love the other actors I get to work with. A lot of them are actually from the UK. Sometimes we act online together through our Zoom screens. But what I find so like encouraging is before each of us works, we all share whatever feelings we have. It's like a very like, let's all like share our feelings. And 9 out of 10 times, some of the best actors I think I've ever seen get up there and they're like, yeah, I'm feeling terrified. I don't know if I can do this. I think I'm sweating. I think I have to pee my pants. I don't know. And here I go. And then they begin the work. And if you didn't, if you weren't privy to that like confession before they began, like I wouldn't necessarily know that fear was still brought along with them. So I think that's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if the goal is to ever eliminate your own uncertainty or your own doubt. I think for me, it's to almost normalize it so that I'm like, all right, this is just the fear that I feel before I walk the plank and dive out to sea, So that's like, I mean, you maybe ask me again in a couple of years and maybe my answer will evolve, but that's where I'm at the moment.
And who's been your biggest influence, going along this path of this journey? Who's been your biggest influence in the industry and why?
That's a great question. I don't know if I have a singular influence that really stands out. I feel like sometimes you're lucky enough to kind of cross paths with someone who really moves you and inspires you and in the best of times kind of sees you. I remember a few years ago, I went to Banff in Alberta, which is like, I don't know if you're familiar, but there's these beautiful mountains and it's kind of this magical place. And they have this amazing center where they invite artists to do these residencies. And I went for this poetry residency because I write poems as well. And this woman named D.B. Young, I had never encountered somebody who embodied what they believed in so fully and so beautifully and so uniquely. And she herself was an actor and a writer and a poet and a mother and somebody who stood up for what she believes in. And I remember being so struck by how clear she was with herself about why she did this work and what she wanted to offer with everything she participated in. And something about being there and being kind of in this swirl of like the mountains and being like in this temporary time with all these artists across the country. It was this really special, it was a very formative thing. And I think when I am trying to connect back with why I'm doing what I do, I think of her.
Oh, that's awesome. And have
you got to meet her. I'm going to like send you.
Have you seen her since, or do you keep in touch?
She's based in Toronto a lot of the time. I mean, her work takes her all over the world, and she's doing amazing work, particularly for young Black voices. And so when I'm not seeing her at maybe a Toronto opening of something, I'm like her biggest fan on YouTube, or we'll have exchanges about the work. And I really feel also that she expresses a belief in me, and that that's something I want to keep close,
Oh, that's really sweet. Mm-hmm. And fingers crossed with this pandemic, we'll have more, open mic nights and more theatres, and because I've got a lot of friends that work in the West End, and they're slowly going back, and I just want to get the chance, because my girls are, I think, a bit older, I would say, and I want to introduce them to, theatre and plays, and get them excited about storytelling and everything like that, because my 8-year-old, she's absolutely amazing. She really is. Reading 2 years above, and she loves short stories, so you've got to embrace that. You really do. But let's talk about The Expanse, because I was late to the party, so I think I started watching it when this second season came out, and I binge watched the first season. What a show. And it's only 2 episodes left. I know. I've got to say, I feel sad watching it, but excited, because I know there's no more. It's like having a perfect meal and just getting to the last bites. But I've got to say, episode 4 that we've just seen, brilliant episode. I interviewed Sama Salim the other week, and he said to me, just make sure you message me after episode 4 and tell me what you thought. And I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't think that was going to happen. But do you think, before we talk about your character, do you think we'll ever see The Expanse again? Because it got saved last time by the fans, from Sci-Fi over to good old Amazon. Do you think, personally, obviously I know you've probably signed so many things that you can and can't say certain things, but do you feel that there is room for more Expanse?
I do believe there is room for more Expanse. I think, I'm not sure what it would or could look like, but I think that the amount of people that have been moved or struck or inspired or scared or scarred by the show, I think is a high number of people. And I love it so much. Like, if I wasn't part of the show, I would just be an enormous fan of it. So I am personally hoping that we get to exist in that world again in some way. And I don't think I'm the only one with that hope. So we'll just see.
That is awesome. If you could let the viewers, or the ones under a rock, if you could tell them a bit about who you play.
Sure. So I play Michio. Michio is part of Drummer's faction and polyamorous relationship. So in season 5, we get introduced to Drummer's sort of family, who are these individuals who are kind of giving her this almost personal component of life. I mean, up to now, we've seen a lot of Drummer, in charge, and we haven't seen this kind of personal side of her as much. So Michio, I would say, among that kind of community, she is certainly a lover and not a fighter, predominantly. She loves the one she loves with an immense ferocity. And though she can be very scared and shaky and sometimes press the wrong button, She, when it comes down to it, I really believe she would do absolutely anything for the ones that she loves.
She's such a superb character, and I read somewhere that originally her character in the books, they actually took her history and her characteristics and gave them to Drummer. So, which is, I think, is really odd. So, how did you develop the character of Michio? I mean, how did that come about for you?
Yeah, so Michio Pa from the books has largely, her sort of story and experience has largely been combined and absorbed beautifully by Drummer's TV iteration. So my understanding and interpretation of that is my character being Michio. It's a larger kind of gesture and nod to the books, but she is her own thing. I see her as like a part of Drummer's heart. So yeah, I mean, it was really cool. I mean, when we were shooting season 5, our lovely Cara G she was expecting, so she was pregnant, and we had to cram a lot of our belter material like all at once. So I remember I was grocery shopping or something, and I got sent the like outlines of what was going to happen in the rest of season 5 because I didn't actually know. I only kind of knew one script at a time, and I read about how Michio steps up, and I don't think it's a spoiler now, but she takes matters into her own hands with a fire extinguisher, and she saves Drummer by outing Corral. And I remember being like, oh my God. Like, so it was this real jolt of excitement to discover that this person who had been a little bit more peripheral in the show until that point was having a moment to really demonstrate what she was made of when push comes to shove. So I remember being really just excited by that. And I think in the same way, when I read the beginning of season 6 and got to rehearse those first few scenes, I was so delighted to that the writers had given such care and attention to everybody in this story, including how Joseph and Drummer and Michio have fared, like in the time since we last saw them at the end of season 5, and what war has done to each of them, and what it has done to the bonds between them, and kind of how that's manifesting. Like, I feel like Joseph really hardens, and he's got his, like, you know, his beard of war, and he's like, you know, like a soldier, and Michio is literally fracturing under the pressure and pressing, you know, like, is not inside of herself at all. And so, yeah, it really just was so, like, what a gift. Like, when I auditioned for the show, I had zero idea that any of that was awaiting Michio. So it's been one of those things you talked about when you're, you know, eating a really good meal and you want to savor every bite. I kind of felt like I had that feeling the whole time we were shooting, where I was like, this is a special thing. Like, let's really drink this up, because it won't be here forever.
It must have been heartbreaking though, because obviously, you know, like when you're in a show and you're with a cast and you're doing your shows night after night, and then you know that this might be your last show together, or it is your last show. How emotional that last show was, because I was in a production of Cabaret, and I played Clifford Bradshaw, and I remember at the end I had to sing Willkommen, and I started to tear up, and
Yes.
I've got to say that was from the emotion of knowing that this is the last time I'm going to do it on this stage with these people. I mean, how emotional was it, you know, filming your last scenes?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, the order that we shot a lot of this, there are those series of X-ray shorts that are kind of you can discover between episodes, and that was, I believe, the last thing that I filmed. And what's interesting is if you haven't seen it, it sort of explores Michio is about to be sent away off the ship. It's the end of 601, and they're about to leave her. And so it's kind of this contention with goodbye. And I remember filming the scene, and it was also a gift that Sammer and I got to join Dominique and Cara to do a short like that. It was really cool that they gave us that opportunity to really study and steep in these characters. And I remember, I'm sure on a conscious and on a subconscious level, all of the way that I collapsed into Sammer's arms when I hugged him and kind of didn't want to leave, I'm sure inside of that was my human body not wishing to leave a moment too soon from, this like magical fucking cool gig that I got to be part of. So certainly it was I don't think I was seeking to maybe play that, but I'm sure inside of me that was going on.
No, I could imagine them saying cut and you're still hugging and you're not letting
Yeah,
go. And
yeah,
they're like, come on, just let go, woman,
yeah.
let go.
I know,
But I mean,
completely.
you joined in season 5, so that's quite a way into the actual show. I mean, what was it like to actually join such an established show? And did you actually watch the show before? Were you a fan, or did you watch it before joining after the audition?
Yeah, so I mean, I have to say, Kara G, who plays drummer, was unbelievable, above and beyond when it came to welcoming all of us into season 5. Another actor in her position could have been, polite and kind, and that was about it. And she was like, "We've all got to have a dinner together. Let's go on a first date all together, and I want to know all about you."
No.
And Kara and I, we're both from the same kind of background in the work. We did a lot of the same kind of theater projects, and so we had already met and knew each other before the show. So yeah, she really made us all feel entirely welcome, which was really special because we all had to portray this kind of entangled love story together. And then it was interesting in terms of preparing for the show. When it comes to things that I'm a fan of, I almost need to temper how much I like lap all of it up, because it'll make me unable to do my job. Like if I'm collaborating with someone that I really love and I've seen all their movies and I've watched all their interviews, I'm going to be terrible as a scene partner to them. So I would watch the show and I would read some of the source material, but then I would kind of have to give myself a bit of distance so that I wasn't entering as a fan first. I could enter kind of as a collaborator first. And then when we would stop filming, I could go back and read more of the books and I could, binge more of the show. But I had to kind of temper that because I'm too much of a fan to, and that would just buckle me, under pressure. Like Thomas Jane, I'm like, he's directing me and I'm thinking about Deep Blue Sea and so that's my long-winded answer to that.
Well, I don't know if you watched my interview with Sama, but I did describe when I interviewed Thomas Jane, and he answered the video call with I'm not sure what if he had clothes on. It was just him smoking a pipe, and he asked if it was on camera. So, but yeah, I mean, absolute legend of a guy, and yeah, Deep Blue Sea, definitely. I mean, the costumes in this show is just phenomenal. It really is. Joanne, I think her name is, the costume designer, has done a glorious job. I mean, what is those suits like to wear? Are they as annoying as I've seen in interviews? I mean, from your point of view.
They're it's like if you're in a wetsuit on a very hot day and you're not allowed to jump in the water, you just gotta stay in the wetsuit. It's sort of like a little bit of that. I mean, at the same time though, it kind of would it would sort of tell your body that like you're on deck. Like let's go. I mean, some of the biggest help to portraying or being convincing in the show, I feel like, is how realistic so much of the set and the costumes are. Like when you've got those heavy helmets on and you've got the way that you're hearing each other is kind of like, in this sort of tiny little helmet microphone, and there's the sound of the oxygen. Like you really allow yourself to believe that you are in space. So you got to sweat a lot. You got to drink a lot of water because you're sweating so much, but it's
But it's
pretty
enjoyable.
cool. Yes.
And also, I've got to ask as well, I've got to get the right picture up here. That tattoo above your eye, does it actually mean something?
I have not been made aware if there's a particular meaning with it. I know that a lot of thought is put into who gets which tattoo and where they are in their body. And Michio also has a cool one around her neck that we don't get to see a lot this season. It became my little friend. It became this little creature that I would sort of, Jen Fisher, who would apply my tattoos every morning. She'd be like, "Should I put the little guy on your face?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, let's put the little guy on my face." So I'm sure there could be a larger, artistic message, but for us, it was a little friend.
So this is a shout out to anyone or even the writers to get in touch to let us know what it actually means.
Yeah, please.
So what's been the most enjoyable time or scene that you've shot during your time on the Expanse
I mean,
that you can talk about?
sure. I mean, I'll stick to things that we've already seen. I mean, in 604, that was a really unique time, and I don't know if I'll ever be in that position again where I'll be. Can I speak about it freely? I can.
Do you know what? Do you know what? Yes, you can.
I don't.
Because if
I
people
don't need
haven't
to.
watched it,
Yeah.
well, shame on them. Because
Yeah.
I was going to ask you what it was like to film,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
because I didn't expect that coming. To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was entire like I can't believe how convincing it was. You know, you had prosthetics who created I'll just kind of give it some context. So in the scene, a big supply crate falls on Joseph's arm, and he's going to bleed out because we're not able to get a tourniquet around his arm. So we need to saw it off. And I was given a real knife, and it was very sharp. And I was given some instruction and coaching, and I'd done some research about how to do this. And the arms that prosthetics team would provide, you know, they had a bone and they were so convincing. And then the props has these blood packets, and Sammer is amazing and he's so convincing. He's screaming, so you really believe it's happening. And I, as somebody, so I actually don't cook very much. I'm like a horrible, useless cook. And so when we were rehearsing the scene, they would be like, just pretend that you're cutting, you know, like a piece of bread, and I was like really, like really bad at it. So now when I, on the other side of this, when I go to cut bread or cut vegetables, I'm like, well, how would I cut Sammer's arm? Okay, that's how I'm going to cut this. Like, so I'm sure other people have the same thought. But yeah, just to be part of an epic moment like that, and to really, my favorite moment in the scene is when Michio leans over to Joseph and says, "Hey, I love you. I'm so sorry." And I couldn't help but kiss him in that moment, because it was just his eyes were so open and so like, yeah, they're all amazing actors that I got to play with. So you really believe all of them when they're looking to you, the character you're portraying, to help them out.
It was an awesome scene, and that Rambo knife. And I'm sure
Yeah.
there's someone in the FBI now looking at your
Yeah.
search history on how to
100%. Yes.
how to
Yes.
take an arm off someone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, with the show, with the costumes and the props, have you had chance to actually get anything from the show as a keepsake, or have you borrowed anything?
I was gifted with some of Michio's tattoos. So when we find out together if they have a significance that I'm not yet aware of, I'd love to know. And then I only have a few, so I'm going to have to time maybe on Michio's birthday, or maybe if the Expanse lives again, I'll maybe bring those tattoos back into my being, because you just feel so cool with them on, you know?
And obviously, you can scare your other half and say, "Look, I've got a new tattoo."
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think
So
he'd be into it,
that'd be.
actually. He'd be like, very cool. Hmm.
I mean, your
Hmm.
career. I think you know you've done a lot on stage. You've done a lot on screen and film, and obviously having a partner, which is Jake, of course, which people will
Hmm.
know as Chuck in Designated Survivor, and he's going to be in Umbrella Academy coming up as Alfonso.
Hmm.
I mean, is it quite helpful having someone already in the profession as well, you know, to help with auditions and sides and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think for us, because of I think we have a similar passion for the work, and so I think part of how we like to work on things is through discussion and through kind of thinking out loud and through exchanging perspectives on things. So for us, it is really special and rare that we have someone who really understands the peculiarities of it and the nonsense of it, and is okay if the vacation you've planned has to be completely canceled because something has come up. Like, there is that language that, if you're lucky enough to be able to speak with someone you're close to, I think it's really, yeah, helpful. So in large part, I think it's a really nice thing.
And I wanted to explore a bit about your. I was looking at the credits for your theatre, and I saw that you were in a production of The Princess Bride. Am I right in saying this is based on the movie?
It is, yes.
What a great movie! What a
Yeah, I
fantastic! And it was actually filmed up the road from here, from
Wow.
me. So I live
Oh,
near not near Nottingham, near Mansfield. So it's
wow.
like literally 10 minutes from Derbyshire, and
Mm,
it was filmed there. And I didn't know. I saw it and I thought, is it based on the movie?
yes.
I mean, what part did you play? I mean, was it a good part?
So it was funny. I portrayed Buttercup in our adaptation of it, but I came very close to playing the booing woman. In like when Buttercup dreams of the woman who's like, bow down to the Queen of Slime, the Queen of Muck, and she does like the. So I kind of with like a partial seriousness. I also auditioned for the booing lady, and the director was like, we could give you Buttercup, but your booing lady was also really good. So I don't know. How do you want to play this? And I chose Buttercup, but it was a very fun production because all of us were so in love with the movie, and it was kind of like a dedication to the spirit of it. Highly comedic, very like was a special time. And going back, maybe I would have done the booing lady instead. I don't know, but it was very
Do you know
fun
what?
to portray true love.
Even to this day, when my wife messages me to pick something from the shops, I always reply, "Your wish is my command," every
Oh,
time. And
beautiful.
it's one of our favorite movies. And also, I wanted to talk about the Edinburgh Fringe.
Oh yeah.
Which, do you know what? I've never been, and I feel really
Oh.
guilty because I did performing arts,
Mm.
and I should have really gone, and there was such a cute photo, really was. There you go.
Yes.
Bless you. And
Mm.
when people think that being a working actor and being a performer like
Mm.
yourself, spoken word and poetry, they think it's an easy job, but it's not. And
Mm.
I read the fact that you had this show, and it was hard work, and you was giving out flyers because people
Mhm.
may think that you just turn up on stage and you've got a group
Mm.
of people doing your promotion, but you performed at the Edinburgh Fringe and you had to do all the work yourself. I mean, how
Mm.
rewarding was that experience, and would you do it again?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who brings a show to Edinburgh does so with a particular kind of goal in mind and a particular team that they've selected is appropriate to that goal. A lot of the shows that I was familiar with, they had, large marketing teams and, a lot of people helping them on the ground campaigning. And I went pretty much solo. I think I was curious about whether or not I could pull it off. I think I was my up until that point I had written and created and kind of directed the show myself, and so I was very, I don't know, perhaps foolishly optimistic that I could manage a lot of it by myself. And the thing I will say was I had a really magical, really amazing time, and if you can ever go, I hope that you do because it's really
Mm.
nothing else is like it. But it would be, I'd have to literally acquaint myself with strangers on the street and tell them in so many words why they might want to come to the show. And sometimes, they would, and then I would get to actually jam and talk with them afterwards. So it was really, I mean, that show that I did was all about what you want to say and offer before you disappear. It's called In Case We Disappear. And so the show is kind of a love letter to the things and people we care about. And so it was special when a lot of the time it would be a room full of strangers that I had somehow earlier that day handed a piece of paper to that would come on whim or on instinct or for some reason. And we'd all kind of share space and time together for like an hour and then never see each other again. So there was something really, really rewarding about that. And will I do it again? I mean, I know that partway through my time, my partner, Jake, he flew out and he kind of picked me up and dusted me off, and he became that other companion that I think everybody needs when they're trying to do something immense like that. And part of the coolest part of our trip was once the festival ended, we went and spent some time in the Scottish Highlands and got to just hear stories and witness places that had a lot of history and magic themselves. So that was kind of a very cool gift at the end of
Mm.
it.
I think I've seen something on YouTube. I don't know if it's taken from that show, but
Mm.
you're doing a piece talking about um, someone accidentally.
Ah.
Is that the one?
I accidentally booty call somebody. Yes.
Yes,
Is that?
yes,
Yes. Yes. That
yes.
is a part of the show. Yes. Yes. And I mean, yeah, the show is kind of a creative adaptation of a lot of the different moments and experiences I've had in my life until that point. And one of them, yeah, is about a time that I accidentally booty called an ex partner, and they came over to my apartment. And what happens is kind of a surprise. So, yeah,
But the way it's done, I've got to say, because I'm fascinated with how people do. I love TED Talks because
yes.
there is a way of presenting, in the way of using pauses, in the way of how you lyrically say things. And that video I saw of you performing that was magical. It really was. It was like captivating. It's like you had to listen. And you did a video as well. Was it on your couch in your house? But it wasn't your
Yes,
house; it was your apartment. But it rhymed.
that's right.
Um,
Yeah.
and again,
Mm.
lyrically, I think it's just people need to go on YouTube and Google you and to see it, because or see you live once you do open mics and the theatres are open, because it's a beautiful thing to be able to do that. I wish I had the guts to do stuff like that. So it's just really nice to hear. It's really sort of mesmerizing. That's
Oh,
the
that's
best way to say.
beautiful. Thank you.
Obviously, I'm going to wind up this wonderful interview. But social media, has your social media changed since being on the Expanse?
Yes, my relationship to it is right now evolving, I think. Um, yeah, I haven't. I'm still discovering kind of how I feel authentic participating in the different versions of it. Um, when I love when it can connect people to each other, and when I can engage in people who care about the same things that I care about, or are really into the show, and are eager to hear about how things happened or who directed what. And I think that's really special. And I'm trying to find balance right now, as we're all going to be in our houses or our apartments for longer than we would maybe not, normally like. So I don't know. You can tell by the way I'm answering this. I think I'm still examining it all. But, in a simple way, I like when it's a place where I can be joyful or laugh or brighten somebody's day a tiny bit. So I think that is like my aspiring brand. And yeah, I think in the best of times it can, like you were saying earlier, the pandemic can expose us to, the parts of humanity that are maybe not so nice, but then also really like buoy us by the people who are the best. And I think social media can amplify both of those things too. So I hope that my participation in it can like amplify the part that I like. So that's all I
And do
got
you
for now.
think and do you think being in the limelight, do you think the level of responsibility now you've got to have on your social media, it must be crazy, because you can't just post whatever you want, I suppose now. As your approach to it changed?
I think I'm trying to listen and observe what moves and inspires me, and slowly maybe borrow or implement what I see working in a way that I think is meaningful and is real. And paying attention to what I am drawn to, so that I can maybe echo some of the same spirit, or take my time to kind of discern for myself what feels kind of compatible with the world of it, and what still feels like me. So, I mean, I think social media is pretty engineered to make us all addictive and anxious and concerned with how we're being perceived. So I feel particularly when I'm in a stage of trying to write new work, which I am right now, I have to be very deliberate about how much I'm inviting other people's opinions of me into my space, because it's a powerful thing. And I think it can be good and useful and important to listen to your audience and to have a conversation with them. But I think for me, at least, I want to be very deliberate about when I'm kind of incubating and only playing, my favorite bands and echoes of my favorite people, or, something, versus, or my nephews, versus when I am interested in inviting everybody to participate in their feelings about me or what I'm doing, you know? So I
I mean,
hope that that's possible.
yeah, no. So social media is a crazy world, the best of times, and
Yeah.
the film. I don't know if you've seen the film "Don't Look Up."
I
We
haven't
on
yet. Yeah. I hear it's great.
we. You know what? I thought it was fantastic, but it's been slated by a lot of people. But I think
Mm,
it's fantastic satire. I think it
mm,
shows social media on what it's like
mhm,
with the events around the movie. But yeah, it's a great watch. You'll have to watch
mm,
it. But
mhm.
Vanessa, you've been a great guest. I look forward. I mean, only 2 episodes left,
I know.
so I'm interviewing Nadine Nicole in an
Oh,
hour,
great.
and Shora next week. Fingers crossed. But I can't
Great.
believe 2 episodes left, so I
Yeah.
cannot wait to see
Mm.
what happens in the next two. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be thumbs up or thumbs down? What do you reckon?
Oh, no spoilers from me, but as somebody who's aware of what happens, I think the writers have done a beautiful job. So that's all I'll
Yeah,
say.
cannot wait. Vanessa,
Mhm.
thank you. Look after yourself and keep safe.
You too. You too. Thanks so much, Brian.